think this is good. I am putting all my faith that this camera is in focus right now, okay? Can I get an amen? Amen.
That's why I stay prayed up daily. Drive me crazy, I can't stay away. It's sweet like candy. Cocoa, mango, cherry.
What is up, you guys? It's Paige. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about colleges I got accepted into, how I did it, and how you can get into your dream college. So keep on watching if you want to learn my tips and tricks. Hey guys, it's Paige. Hope you all are doing well. I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer and say this video was filmed in late May of 2020 and it is now October. And so I know with COVID-19 there have been a few changes and adjustments made to the college application process. But I know that this video has a lot of useful tips still that will remain true regardless of what's going on. So just wanted to point that out, that it was filmed in May. All right, bye. I applied to University of Michigan, Northwestern, Notre Dame, Harvard, Stanford, Spelman College, Howard University, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Occidental College. I got accepted into everything but Harvard, Stanford, and Notre Dame, which sucked, but I was expecting it, honestly. So I'm gonna be splitting this video up into 4 parts. First part is my essay, second part are my extracurricular activities, third part are my stats, and then fourth part are just tips and tricks that I learned from my English teacher about how to make your essay stand out. It's not about doing the greatest things out of everyone, it's about making a great thing meaningful to you and showing the college why you should be accepted and what you bring to the table. So first thing I'm gonna do is log into Common App because that's where my essays are. So the Common App uses a bunch of different prompts that you can choose from, and the one I chose from is the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from this experience? And so I've never read this essay on camera. It's pretty personal, but I think I had a really unique circumstance, and so I think it helped me stand out, and I'm really, really proud of it. So here goes nothing. Growing up, I was always the new kid. In 3rd grade, my family relocated to the Republic of Panama, and I will never forget my first day. Black hair permed, my uniform skirt flat, I walked into class. This was the first time I realized I was different. My eyes scanned up and down, longing for something, but too young to realize what. It quickly became apparent that I was the only black kid in my grade, with my skin being a social barrier. I couldn't relate to my pale, Spanish-speaking classmates who asked why my hair stood up or why it didn't part easily like theirs. I didn't know what being called a morena meant. At sleepovers, my friends rated their mom's makeup and practiced on each other, but I sat outside of the circle. The foundation never matched. It was always too light. One night, I decided to eliminate my problem of not fitting in. I searched Google on my iPad for skin lightening masks. Banana, honey, lemon, milk, salt. The thick substance burned as I ground it into my brown skin. Today, I realized that I was in a fishbowl, its layer of curved glass distorting my thoughts in such a way that I believed the whiter I was, the better. This mindset continued after returning to the States, and in 2016 we moved, yet again, to Michigan. I found the environment to be standoffish to newcomers. While I believe community ties are important, it was so tightly knit I could have choked. The surrounding kids grew up together, and I arrived 15 years too late. The black sheep in another predominantly white school, my mind was heavy and anxious, dreading the thought of standing in front of my class. I couldn't even look people in the eye. One day, as my chemistry class prepared to set up lab materials, my teacher warned everyone. As you all know, silver nitrate is a nasty pollutant. Be careful not to get it on your skin unless you want it to stain and be dark like Paige's. The shock and humiliation that followed still impacts me today. This moment represented every low point that combined my race and environment, but it resulted in a surprising epiphany. I realize that what happens to me in life is not as important as the lessons I take from them. I look at the past isolation as a hidden gift, a silver lining. It gave me time to see myself. Not the Paige everyone saw or didn't see, but the Paige I knew. It's quite easy to adopt a victim mindset, but I believe that self-pity would get me nowhere, opportunities would pass, and the world would not wait for me to get it together. It didn't matter whether I'd lived here 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. It was my responsibility to make something out of it, lead by example, and show that it's not about the time frame itself, but what I spend that time doing. Since that day, I have volunteered, participated in school activities, and attended Harvard's pre-college program. As I look back, my biggest regret is not believing in myself earlier. From this obstacle, I learned perseverance, resilience, and not letting my skin color define nor limit me. In my success, I've realized that the person who had been rooting the most against myself was me. I had to change and take my power back. I decided to no longer base my worth or what I could accomplish on the perceived limitations of my environment. If there wasn't room, I decided to create space. Not to prove a point to anyone, but to myself. I now move forward proudly and gracefully. I needed to let the 8-year-old girl in Panama who felt forgotten and unrecognized know that she is now secure in herself, that she is here. So yeah, I basically talked about my experiences growing up and how it shaped me. I used real life examples, and I think that's what gave me an edge. My words were very specific, and they allowed the reader to see what I wanted them to see, if that makes sense. That is my essay. It was 650 words out of 650 words that they allowed. I really had a lot to say, as you can see. And I think that really worked well for me because, you know, when I read it to my parents, they cried. And when I showed my friends, they were all really shook that I wrote that. And I mean, shock value can help. I think that me writing specifically about my chemistry class was a really big eye-opener because I can guarantee out of all the essays college admissions people hear, they probably don't hear a story like that often. If you guys want me to do a specific video on the essays I wrote to the colleges, then let me know. I just think it would be too long to do it in this video. Michigan, Northwestern, a lot of top universities ask for personal essays towards that school specifically. So why University of Michigan? Why Northwestern? So my why insert school essays, I have done them, but I would rather it be a specific video dedicated to that because, yeah, as I said, it would just take too long. So if you guys want that video, leave a comment down below. So now that I read you guys my essay, I'm going to talk about my extracurricular activities. I'm also going to post a screenshot of my transcript because it's easier than me naming out every single class I took. I only took 4 AP classes my entire high school career, and when you watch acceptance videos, a lot of the time they're like, oh, I took 10 APs, I took all of these IB classes, I did this and that. And while that is good, you don't have to do that in order to get into the school you want to do. Because I didn't do that and I got in. And I know a lot of other people who didn't do the most and they got in. It's not about what all the things you did, it's what you learned from it. I'm just gonna name off these, they're really fast. So I was involved in my church. I work in the nursery with the babies. Duh, Paige, oh my god. And it's really fun. I don't really do any like Bible stuff. I watch kids, okay? And I did this for 3 years, since sophomore year. Second thing I did was academic mentoring, which is a program at my school where we help kids who are at risk of not graduating. And so we get paired with one kid and we work with them for the entire year, motivating them, helping tutor them, helping them get their grades up, and it's a really fulfilling experience. So I did that my senior year. Third thing I did, I was senior class officer, which was elected by my senior student body class. And there were only 4 officers who were elected out of everyone that ran. Not trying to brag, I'm just letting you guys know. Fifth thing, I was part of National Honor Society, which most schools have this. It's just tutoring after school and you have to get a certain number of hours. Sixth thing, I was co-anchor on my school's news broadcast show. It's like a morning news thing and I would do it some weeks and some weeks I wouldn't. I was on there, okay? I received an academic letter for all 4 years as well as honor roll. I was a part of prom committee, which was super fun. I was a part of diversity club, which is this club that my principal made at school to help kids feel more included. So I was chosen to do that. And last two things that I did were, these are kind of like outside of school. I helped start a program at my local retirement home where volunteers would walk with the residents there around town because I live in a really picturesque place and some of the residents were, scared to leave their house alone or they just wanted company. So I helped kind of bridge the gap between them getting to see the world and them just sitting inside looking out of a window. And so that was super cool. They'd go on walks, they'd get their exercise, they'd see fresh faces, everything that a human desires. Lastly, I was in a pageant and I get to represent my community in different charity events and that's super cool. So all in all, I did, 10 activities all throughout my 4 years of high school. And, it didn't feel like a chore. It didn't feel like, oh, I'm just doing this so I can get into a good college. The key is to find something you like to do and don't spread yourself thin. Don't be involved in 30 clubs and only be a member of it. You gotta aim to be a leader in what you're participating in because they'd rather see 5 or 6 clubs that you're really active in and that you're a part of versus 30 clubs where you're just there. Like that, you have to think about, they're gonna know where you spend your time. And if you spend your time, think about it like this. Would you rather someone give you $1 or give you 100 pennies? $1, right? So those were my activities. And now I'm gonna talk about my stats. So on my ACT, I got a 29 and on my SAT, I got a 1220. And the SAT score is not the best. I need to find my ACT transcript to say, so I'm gonna post my ACT sub scores, I guess. I did really, really good in English because English is my favorite subject. And I did less good in math and way less good in science. But I got a 29 and my first score was a 26 and I raised it. I only took the ACT twice and I took the SAT I think 4 times and my score just wouldn't rise, and that's okay. You got to be okay with being stagnant for a little while. I could have done more work to raise it, but I'm not a good test taker and I decided to really do well on my essays in order to kind of bring my whole status up. And my grades, I'm gonna also put my transcript here, but I had all A's all throughout high school. My unweighted GPA was a 3.9 or 4.0 and my weighted GPA was a 4.3, I think, 4.3. And class ranking, unweighted class rank was 5 out of 260 and weighted class rank was 22 out of 260. So I didn't go to a huge school, but I was pretty, I want to say unweighted, I was definitely high up, 22 out of 260s, I want to say top 10%, I don't know, 22 out of 260s, top 8%. And I didn't even know this, for the first 3 years, I didn't see my official transcript. I just knew that I was getting good grades. And so I think that kind of helped because I'm a perfectionist. I feel like I might have been one of those kids had I known that there was a ranking system, but luckily I didn't. And I just focused on myself. And that's such a big tip. Focus on yourself. Don't think, oh, my friend over here just started a nonprofit, or my friend over here just got 3 national awards for their sport or their artwork, and then feel inadequate and then not apply to schools you want to because you think that they're doing better and that you can't amount to what everyone else around you is doing, because that's not true, okay? Like, you are yourself, and colleges will look at you on an individual basis. I've heard stories about some people, they don't have the best scores, they don't have the best grades, and they get into all of these Ivy Leagues, they get into the top 10 schools. You can never know what it truly is that gets you into a college, but what you can control is what you show them, if that makes sense. You have so much power in this situation to give them what you want them to see, and so use it. Highlight what you do best, even if it's not a lot, it's still something, you know? So now I'm gonna get into tips about how to get into your dream school. Tip number 1, take your standardized testing early, okay? I cannot stress this enough. The first time I took the SAT was like the end of my junior year, and then I literally waited until October or November of my senior year to take the SAT again. And it was such a stressful time because you're already applying for college, you have back to school senior stuff, and just trying to study for the SAT on top of that. It was awful, my guy. Like, I don't know how I did it. If I could redo things, I would definitely set it back and start taking the SAT as soon as possible. Take it multiple times if you can. There's a lot of free practice tests online. There's just a lot that you can do to prepare. My biggest problem when taking the SAT was, 1, I'm not a good test taker, and 2, I just wasn't prepared enough. I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. So although test scores aren't everything, they do matter. There's some schools that do test optional, which I think is a great idea, but a lot of the top universities don't do that. And so if you want to hire your chances up, or let's say you don't have the most extracurricular activities, or your participation level wasn't that involved, then you got to focus on those test scores. You got to focus on those test scores and bringing them up and taking them to the highest level that you, not Bill down the street who got a 35 on his first try, not, you know, Sandra who got a 1430 after taking 1 practice test. Like, if that's you, great, but for a majority of the kids, they don't get that score. I didn't get that score. I know people who got into very, very good schools who didn't get that score. So my point is, you should try to get the highest score possible, but then if you don't, then you should focus on kind of developing your character and saying, okay, I didn't get the best score, but here's what I can bring to the table. Tip number 2, don't make your essay a sob story. I did this workshop with my English teacher, and we read a whole essay about this girl who lost her grandfather and started doing so much better in school because she wanted to make him proud. Is that a good topic? Yes, if you make it not cliche. While it is sad to lose a loved one or experience that kind of grief, it's a very common topic that people talk about. And I don't want to discourage you from writing about it, but a majority of college admissions people have read stories like that. So if you're going to write about a more cliche topic like playing sports or getting injured or excelling at something, make it catered to you. Realize that the college admissions people don't know you. They don't know what you're thinking, so you have to put it in their head and make them see it the way you want them to see it. So use certain words that are unique. Like, don't go to the dictionary and look up the most complicated word. Don't do that. You got to sound like yourself, but make it catered to you. How did you feel in that moment? What were you seeing around you? Don't just make it, oh, I didn't get picked for my freshman soccer team, so I trained and I practiced and then I made it. So can you accept me into your college? Like, no, they're not gonna do it. They might, but there's 1,000 other kids who did the same thing. So what makes you special? You gotta figure that out, but just write things that are important to you and write them with detail enough so that someone who doesn't know you can get to know you, because that's the whole point of essays. My third tip, don't take a bunch of APs or honors classes or IB classes if you can't handle the workload, because trust me, it is better to have, an A+ in one normal class than have like a C or a D in an AP class. You got to challenge yourself, but not to the point where you don't know what's going on. And I think that's kind of for me. I feel like I could have challenged myself more, but at the same time, my school didn't offer that many APs. So you guys, my fourth and final tip is just to be yourself. You don't have to make your essay super formal and super, well, I did this and this taught me. Like, just act like yourself, write like yourself, to be yourself. I know it's way easier said than done, but it's what I did. I just stayed true to myself. You know, my essay wasn't the best about all these accomplishments I did. It's about a struggle that I had and how I overcame it. But colleges don't want a sob story. They don't want to feel bad for you, and you shouldn't make them feel bad for you. Basically, my story was sad, on the sadder side, but I wrote about how I learned from it and what it taught me and how I'll continue to do better because of it. So just dig deep and find what makes you, you. I believe in you guys. You got this. I think that's it. Let me know if you guys want that essay video about like why Northwestern, why Ohio State, why Michigan State, because I can make a video kind of reading those different colleges.